The green and blue pens are for the paper that's going to be handed out in just a little bit. If you don't have anything to write with, go ahead and use it. But and I'm gonna have to take them back up when we're done because I stole them from the office. Yep. So you notice that I gave you sandpaper. Okay? And a lot of these techniques are techniques that I learned from someone who was dyslexic, who used to go to camp in the summer to learn memory techniques because of the dyslexia. You don't have to be dyslexic to use these techniques, okay? And the word I'm going to have you write on here, I do not want you to write on the paper, because we're going to see how many of you remember the word at the end of this workshop. But there is a nerve that runs from the end of your right pointer finger, not the left one. It has to be your right pointer finger. And it runs from the end of that finger into the memory section of your brain. And it works. I've used this. Huh? Oh, crap happens. Knock that off. So, whenever I would drive from here to Steubenville, Ohio, a lot of times I would forget to look at the gas gauge. And by the time I looked, it would be almost on empty, and I'd be praying, God, please let me get to the next rest stop. Okay? So, when I learned this technique, I started writing on my steering wheel, gas. Remember to get gas. And I would do this 3 or 4 times. Not once since I've done that have I forgotten. So now I catch it at about 1/4 of a tank, not on almost empty. So I want you to write and say out loud 3 times, get gas, get gas. Okay? Huh? Just write it on the sandpaper. Because the rougher your surface is, the better you will remember it. That's why I used sandpaper. So now on your actual paper, so put your sandpaper away. On the actual paper, write that there is a nerve that runs from the right pointer finger into the memory section of your brain. And that if you write what you need to remember on something rough, you'll be more likely to remember it. So, there was no actual work with the sandpaper. Now, the second technique, can you hear me? The second technique is with colored paper. All right? And also, not just colored paper, but something nice to suck on. All right? There are 2 techniques with this. And before I explain the technique, I want to tell you a little story. Okay? If you eat the same breakfast every day, you eat oatmeal every blessed day, are you ever going to remember that breakfast? Is anything going to stick out about it? No. But if you have biscuits and gravy and sausage one day, are you going to remember that? Yes. So, the idea with the paper is this. Especially either yellow or green. There is something about yellow and green that goes to the memory section of your brain also. Now, is it a quick fix and a right away thing to happen? No, but over time it works. Over repetition, just like learning math. You have to do it over and over, but then you get it. All right? Yes? You are more likely to remember. Yes. And it depends on the person. Whichever one is more pleasing is the one that works best for you. So if yellow is the best one, use yellow. If green is the best one for you, use the green. Whichever one pleases you the most. Now, that's why I gave you the pen. Green and purple tend to work best. Green and purple pens on the green or yellow paper increases your ability to remember. Okay? So how cool is that? And also, that was loud. Also, while you're taking those notes, keep peppermint or cinnamon discs or whatever you like to suck on the best. Keep those around as well, because and then as you're taking a test, make sure you have the cinnamon or the peppermint also, because as the way that it goes in is the way it'll come out also. So if you're using, the green and yellow paper to take the notes on, you need to use the green or yellow paper to take the test on as well. And if you're sucking on cinnamon while you're taking the notes and doing the homework, then as you're taking the test, you need to also suck on the peppermint during that time also. So, and I had a student who looked at me and said, "You're stupid," because I told her about this. And then she started using a pink ink pen and blue paper. And about a month later, she came to me and she said, "I really thought you were stupid. It works." So she had to apologize. So these are time-tested techniques, and they do work. And I've had students tell me over and over that they did work for them. So use them. Okay? Now, on that green or yellow or pink paper, whichever one you got, I want you to write baseball. And then I want you to turn it over and not look at it the rest of the workshop. We're going to see how many of you remember. And with this one, I don't have anything to illustrate it, but I've heard over and over that your own voice is what you will remember the best. So, this third technique is tape record your voice repeating the concepts or whatever it is that you need to remember. And then as you sleep or as you're, not really doing anything, listen to it. Yes, ma'am.
And when I was going to college, I drove from Monticello to EKU every day. After I left Somerset, I went on to EKU. And you all know this because you got professors that give you your essay question that's going to be on the test. You all know what I'm talking about. It happens. So you go home and you write the essay, and they give it to you well in advance. So you go home and you write that essay out, and then you speak it into a tape recorder or into your phone, and when you drive to school, you listen to it. At home, when you're cleaning or working on the car or whatever you do at home, listen to it, and I promise you, you'll be able to spit the words back almost verbatim what you wrote. It works. I did it for 3 years. Yeah, headphones with it, but I'm telling you, I had a professor tell me one time I was taking a makeup test, and I got a completely different one than everybody else did, but the essay was exactly the same. And he said, "I've never had a person make $100 essay question before." And he said, "I want to know how you did it." And I told him, but I did it for 3 years. while you're in the car. Yeah, you focus, you drive, you focus, you listen, you put that cassette. I used to, with a cassette tape, so I put my cassette tape in my car and I would listen to the term school. 90 miles each way, that's a good travel to listen. And it works. Especially if you're an auditory learner.
Yes. And I've actually had students come to me after I had told them and say, in my gen class, we just learned all of these memory techniques you don't have already told me about. And it was like, yes, I was so excited. Now, number 4 is going to sound weird. And, you know, if you've got a partner in bed with you, it might not work so much. But I've heard this. Put your notes or your book, your math book. Of course, we don't usually use a math book now, but put your notes in your pillowcase. Inside your pillowcase. Or put your book next to you where your hand is going to fall in your sleep. Because as you are sleeping, every time that paper crinkles, your mind is working on that math. I mean, seriously, it really is. And what happens is your brain is working on the math without you even being conscious, which means it sinks deeper without it hurting as bad. So how cool is that? That would also help because that's the last thing you thought of, so that would also work. Yeah. Most people don't. Of course, I have done that. I have had a math problem while I was working in student support services a long time ago. I had a math problem that I just absolutely could not do. I had worked on it literally for like 3 or 4 hours that day. One problem. And I got like 2 or 3 other people involved. And I still couldn't figure out this problem. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, I sat straight up and I'm like, that's how I do it. So I went to bed with that problem on my brain and slept, dreamed about it, and woke up and knew how to do it. So, it's crazy. In the last box on the back of your page, Bill Phelps had a seminar one time on test-taking techniques, and he made a statement that I think is really, really important. The temperament with which you're learning the information is the best temperament for it to come back out during a test. If you're calm when you learn the information, if you're frantic, it won't come out. If you're frantic when it went in, and you're frantic, then it'll come out. So the temperament with which the information goes in is the same temperament at which it's best to come back out. So try to stay calm while you're learning it, and try to stay calm while you're taking the test over it. And remember, as far as the redesign, several of you are in the redesign classes, you get a second, third, fourth chance. And even if you need more than that, you got more chances. So a test isn't your enemy. So remember to stay calm. All right? Then, technique 5. More breaks, shorter study time. Because the research shows that the first thing you learn and the last thing you learn are the things that you remember. So if you spend a whole hour studying, the first thing is what you're going to remember and the last thing. So, there's only 2 pieces of information. But let's say in that hour, you broke it up into 5-minute increments. Okay? 5 minutes studying, 5 minutes break. 5 minutes studying, 5 minutes break. Okay? You've got 12 things learned. Because you've got six different times where you're, well, actually 3 different times where you're studying. No, it's 6. Okay, I'm a math teacher and I can't even divide. How sad is that? But anyway, there's 6 minutes, 6 times when you're studying 5 minutes a time. So that's, 6 times where you're actually studying. First thing, last thing, for 6 different times. So you can study for an hour and remember 2 things, or you can, study 5 minutes at a time for an hour and remember 12 things. How cool is that? And you get more breaks. And as you see me, we need to walk a little more. So that would be cool to take that many breaks, because we need the exercise, as well as the memory. Now, technique 6, and I need that little handout. You notice I typed in technique 6, and it's one of the biggest problems we've got in students remembering their work. A negative times a negative equals a positive. And a positive times a positive equals a positive. But a negative times a negative, a negative times a positive equals a negative. And a positive times a negative equals a negative. Now this is going to sound stupid, but if you put it to words in a song, you will remember it. Okay? My brother, who was fixing to fail his history class and not graduate, he spent an all-nighter putting all of his history information into songs. Styx and Journey and all of them, and Foreigner, all of those popular songs he put his history information into. He got like 97 on the final. And his buddy, who was also going to fail, got a 95 because they put all of the history information to a song. So, don't shoot me for the tune, but it was the tune that I got on YouTube for this, but and I'm nervous. But a negative times a negative equals a positive, and a positive times a positive equals a positive. But a negative times a net positive equals a negative. A positive times a negative equals a negative. Now, if you sing that over and over, so if you sing this over and over to yourself, you are going to get this. And this is one of the things I keep telling my students. It's a big, fat, hairy deal because it ain't never, ever going away. And those of you in 150, has it gone away? No. So, the quicker you get friendly with this concept, the faster it's going to quit biting you in the behind your parts. All right? So, memory technique 7. And this was something that I got from Elaine Wilson through email yesterday, is juggling. A lot of people are kinesthetic learners. So if you walk or you juggle while you're learning your techniques, and no, I'm not going to even try to juggle because I am not coordinated. I can barely walk and chew gum at the same time. So, but those who are kinesthetic learners, if your body is moving, you are going to remember it a lot better. And choose a technique so that as you're learning it, because as it goes in is how it's going to have to come back out. So learn some kind of kinesthetic movement that you can actually use during a test. I don't think your teacher's going to allow you to juggle during a test. Okay? But if you got a little squeeze ball, that would work. Because you can use that in a test. And that would help with frustration and nerves. So that's Technique 7. Now, who remembers the word we wrote on the sandpaper? Yes? Gas. And what did we write on the yellow or green paper? Baseball. It works. And that's it. That's all I have. Any questions?
I wanted to just add, when I was in stats class, we had an actual scientific article that was called To Jingle or Not to Jingle, and it was people that wrote little songs, little jingles for statistics facts. And they actually did the science in the class, and they showed us a significant increase in memory of those. I thought it was a cute article. It was quite short, but they did a small study, and they were able to scientifically prove that one. I'm sure that there are others that did that.
Cool. So, yes, ma'am.
Another way that I was taught to learn that, and they didn't talk to me, is that, like, sometimes bad things happen to bad people. Really.
With a positive result. Cool. And if a positive thing happens to a good person, that's a good thing. But if a bad thing happens to a good person, it's negative. Or if a good thing happens to a bad person, that's a negative result. Cool. I like that one too.
Okay, I'll share another one. Pairs are positive. So when you're multiplying, just remember you got 2 numbers, there's a pair.
Oh.
4 numbers, there's 2 pairs. But if you have 3 negatives, you got this odd one hanging out. So anytime you have an odd one hanging out, so pairs are positive.
Cool. Pairs are positive. Yep.
Only when you're multiplying.
Yes.
Because you do, well, if you got 2 negatives when you're adding, they're not. They're
Right.
not positive. But when you're multiplying, pairs are positive.
Cool.
One more I've noticed, because I have to help my memory a lot. I have verbal and kinesthetic, which is kind of weird for an English person. But I figured when I was taking stats class again, because that's where I had the most memory trouble, because it was a hard subject. And I tried 2 experiments. I usually write my notes, because that's how I can try to figure out right. It's something, it's not just seeing them, but it's actually the act of writing them that helps me remember. One time I was like, this is not efficient, I'm going to type my notes. And I completely blew the test, because for me, typing didn't give me the same kind of, I typed the same kind of notes I would have written, but sometimes you just have to experiment and find what works. But that's that one thing.
Yeah, muscle memory. You're right.
Yeah, I have to write things.
Which reminds me that Eric Woolridge, who does the digital printing, that has a 3D printer, and gave me a tactile ruler that's actually measured out in inches and half inches, and you can feel it. And I was thinking, I said, well, people learn Braille by touch, but I was thinking how much more effective it would be to learn what an inch looks like as a child if you could feel. Because, the rulers that we get, you can feel just a little bit of raise. But this is huge. I mean, it's about that much. So you can actually feel that raised inch real easy. It's pretty cool. He's got quite a bit of research on that, too.
Oh, wow.
And one other one that my daughter taught me was right when we started college. It's important to always remember PEMDAS. And I'm like, what is that? And she told me, so PEMDAS is parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, and subtract.
Mnemonic tools, that's called a mnemonic tool. And those help a lot as well. Because like when I was taking calculus, I would always, every time I took a test, I wrote SC, negative S, negative C on my paper. Because the derivative of a sine is a cosine. The derivative of a cosine is a negative sine. And the derivative of a negative sine is a negative cosine. But then when you had to take the integral, which is the opposite process, you had to go back up the stairs. So those are called mnemonic tools, and those help you as well.
I agree with you completely on what Bill said about your attitude.
Yes.
When you study.
Yes.
For your test. That's a fact.
Yes. And you know that you know something, but when you're under stress, there's no way you can remember it.
Peppermint has a candidly soothing effect on
Yes.
the brain. Because if you suck on the peppermint, you got there's a smell that goes along with it too. And you can just take a few deep breaths, close your eyes, just kind of think, chill and calm.
Also have to stimulate.
And it stimulates your dendrites in your brain.
Cool.
I would think so.
Peppermint oil does. So like if you have peppermint oil on a light bulb in the room when you're working and studying,
For real?
you're supposed to think better.
I've never heard that.
In Teresa's music elementary class, one of the first things she teaches you is about 30 minutes or an hour before you plan on studying or going to class, you'll listen to Mozart. Around 30 minutes, it gets a lot of extra brain awake. So whenever you go to study, you do the same thing.
I had forgot about that. Yes. Listening to classical music helps you to learn more. And I guess it's because of the complexity of the music and the soothingness of the music.
That helps make you start problem solving, learn how to problem solve, whether they're actually able to problem solve.
Cool.
And it doesn't have to be banging loud, it can just be background music.
Yeah.
Just very quiet background music.
When I taught in the 8th grade, one of the things that we did is work on memory techniques and helping students get better on testing. And our principal gave us all Beethoven and Mozart to put when we would give them their homework assignment, the last 15 minutes of class or whatever. Anytime they were working on an activity, get used to listening and hearing the music. So we did that, and then we did our 9 weeks test. You put it on low. I mean, it's not even loud enough to be. I mean, you would barely hear this low music in class, and very soothing, and give them peppermints, and we did it all the time. Test grades did improve. Yeah, they just have to, but they have to get used to it, because when you first start listening to it, it seems distracting. So you have to keep doing it over and over and over to get used to it, and by the time you do it, and it's an important time when you're taking a test, it really works.
And remember, these techniques aren't, like an overnight fix. It takes repetition.